Yesterday, Sarah said out of these three attributes of Sankharupekkhanana, the knowledge of equanimity, about formations, we have already discussed three qualities of neutrality, and today, as already published yesterday, we are going to discuss three other qualities, or three special qualities of this Sankharupekkhanana. Out of these three special qualities, as to the first one, the book of four discriminations, Paṇḍitā Sayadaw, has given this statement that Satitana Penya, the well-established knowledge.
Satitana.
The well-established knowledge, or knowledge which is well-established, is known as Sankharupekkhanana, Sankharupekkhasunyanam, called Sankharupekkhanana. So, such is the quality. What kind of quality? Quality of being established. In what way is it established? It is properly or well established. And how is it established? It is established in such a way that it proceeds continuously. It means the procession of knowledge, as given by the sub-commentarians. Jnanasa, Santana, Vatena, Vasena, Vate. It is said that the jnana, this knowledge, proceeds continuously, or it means the procession of wisdom or knowledge. Hence, the first quality is its endurance for a long time. That means it endures for a long time. So this will be more understood with comparison. For instance, in the earlier insight knowledge, lower jnanas, lower knowledge, this is the knowledge. It takes 5 or 10 minutes, and then afterwards one may have to start anew with finding new objects or new noting consciousness, but one has to make a new effort or new exertion in order to find new objects, and we have to establish ourselves in a new and new. Now at this Sankharupekkhanana, one has got to exert only for 4 or 5 notings. Afterwards, the noting mind proceeds by itself, being mindful and fully aware in a very fluid manner. One may be able to sit for 1 hour without any disruption, and even 2 or 3 hours and so on. And that's why it is said in this first quality as it endures for a long time. Sometimes, as for the yogi who has come to this stage, even if he or she sits for 1 or 2 hours, he or she might think she has only sat for a few minutes. And this is what is meant. So that at this stage, noting consciousness proceeds continuously, so that one is able to come to the stage of aradhaviriya, sustained energy, or pekahidaviriya, uplifting energy, the kind of energy which is uplifted, or which uplifts your practice instead of stagnating or lowering down, coming to fulfill energy, paripurna, viriya. And such is the stage when one has reached. So at this stage, after making a few notes, the noting mind proceeds by itself, proceeding with the preceding noting consciousness, continues with the succeeding noting consciousness in a spectacular manner. And then as for the second quality, the sub-commentarians are given like this. Just as when you are sifting powder such as the flour in a tray or on a tray, as you go on sifting it, shaking the tray in a centrifugal motion, shaking it up, so that there is separation of coarse and refined materials occur, and refined materials accumulate on one place, on one side, and the coarse materials on another side, or it may fall down, if you want to let it fall down, so that only refined materials remain after you have sifted. So that as you go on sifting, shaking this tray, there will be more and more accumulation of this refined or subtle materials. So at this stage, as the practice goes on, the practice will be more and more subtle. Hence, the late Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw has given this maxim. It becomes more and more refined as time goes on. As to this third quality, it has been given by the text these two expressions have been given, Paṇḍitā and Paṇḍitā. Now the object, and when Paṇḍitā means the noting mind is adhering to the object. It is not shrinking away from the object. If you are noting rising, falling, sitting, touching, the noting mind will adhere steadfast to the object of attention, whether it's rising, falling, or sitting, touching. And at times, if there's no rising or falling, you're noting sitting, touching, the noting mind will adhere with the objects of sitting and touching. So that it will not be separated, you will not be able to separate it, it will be adhering or connected with the object of attention steadfastly. And you try to withdraw from it, retreat from it, require from it, you cannot do it. That is given by this expression, quality, Paṇḍitā. That means you will not withdraw from the object. Though you are trying to do it purposely, to withdraw from the object, and try to pay attention to the object to which you are desiring, or desirable object, you will not go to that object. Instead, the noting mind will come back to the object of attention. It will not stay in another object. Instead, it will come back to the object to be noted. Such is this expression. Hence, there's no scattering of mind. It doesn't scatter. There's no distraction of the mind. It's given by this expression. Na sambasariyati. No scattering, or no scatter, without any scatter. Absence of mental scatter. At this point, there has been experiments made as regards this scattering of the object, whether there is any scattering, any mental scatter taking place at this stage, at the stage of Sankharupekkhanana. And some yogis are asked to just send one's noting mind towards other objects, to know other objects, away from the usual object of attention, either to the desirable object, or sometimes to the undesirable object, or the most desirable object, or the most undesirable object. Though the noting mind has gone there, just reaches there, it doesn't stay long. Instead it comes back, and one is noting again the usual objects of attention. Like the weapon used in Australia as a boomerang, when you throw this weapon, it always comes back to the thrower. So the mind is just made to go elsewhere, but it doesn't go, or it may go and come back, bounce back. Even in one's body, there are many objects in one's body, and instead of noting one few objects of main objects in the body, for instance rising or falling, if one is made to note other objects of the body, up and down the body, elsewhere in the body, such as the touch points around your body, like shoulders and knees and things like that. Sometimes you are asked to do that. Even if you do that, the noting mind will not go there, or it may go there but bounce back to the usual object of attention. So at this point, the noting mind is said to be adhering to the object instead of being cast away, or instead of scattering. And it always comes back to the usual object of attention. Hence this maxim given by the late Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw, absence of mental scatter. Prior to the practice, yogis may be thinking about sensual objects one after another, because there's a wide scope. So this objective field is quite wide, very panoramic, and because one has been used to such thoughts, sensuous thoughts. But at the stage of coming to the purification of the mind, Citta Visuddhi, and seeing the mind and body, and the causal mode, the thoughts of sense pleasures become narrowed, the scope becomes narrowed, and that noting mind comes more and more on the object. The noting mind is applied more and more steadfastly on the object and the objective field. Later, when one sees the universal characteristics of the psychophysical phenomena, conditioned psychophysical phenomena, then the scope of one's noting mind becomes, mindfulness becomes narrower and narrower until one comes to the stage of Uddiyavya Jnana, the knowledge of fast arising and passing away. Then one comes to even see the details of the objects, microscopic details. And according to the saying, that when the sati has the power, which is the quality of Paṇḍitā Sati, steadfast mindfulness, then the awareness becomes very strong and panoramic. Scope becomes very wide. The field of scope becomes very wide. So at this stage, the situation of the mind has changed. And at the stage of Bhanga Jnana, knowledge of dissolution, one seeing the fleetingness of these psychophysical phenomena, then the scope becomes narrower and narrower. And especially at the stage of Sankharupekkhanana. Of course, the coarse forms of objects and noting mind has disappeared at the stage of Bhanga Jnana, the knowledge of dissolution. And when one comes to the stage of Sankharupekkhanana, one sees only the refined materials. One's practice becomes more and more refined, losing the form of the body. And one is able to overcome the perception of permanence. And the noting mind proceeds very, very well in a subtle manner. The subtleties of the practice begin to arise. And then when the form disappears, there's only the awareness is known. And in this way, the scope of mindfulness becomes narrower and narrower. Sometimes even the awareness becomes, sometimes it is existing or non-existing. It's not sure whether it is existing or non-existing. So that such is the narrowing down of the scope of awareness. In this way, the mind begins to shrink, and but it will not go away from the usual object of attention. It will only adhere. The noting mind will only adhere to the object of attention in a steadfast manner. You won't be able to take it out or remove it from the object of attention. Although you try to cast it away, you try to separate it from the noting mind, from the noted object, it will not be cast away, it will not be removed from the usual object of attention. And this usual object of attention also is very narrow scope, only few in number, or the scope has narrowed down to the narrowest possible. At this point, the late Venerable Master has wound up these qualities as such are the three special qualities of Sankharupekkha. That is, first and foremost, the endurance of the practice as time goes on. It endures for a long time. And then refinement of the practice as time goes on. And thirdly, the absence of mental scatter. So in a sense, the noting mind is steadfast on the object. It adheres on the object of attention and not go away from it. Such are the special qualities of this Sankharupekkhanana. So for those yogis who have come to this stage of Sankharupekkhanana, would be fulfilled, would be able to experience these three qualities, that is 6 qualities, namely 3 qualities of equanimity and 3 special qualities, altogether 6 qualities of Sankharupekkhanana. And one has got to examine oneself, find out oneself whether one is fulfilled with these qualities. One has possessed, or one has come into possession of these 6 qualities, whether one has come to this stage or not. If not, one has not come to the stage of Sankharupekkhanana, if one possesses these qualities, then one can be decided. It can be decided that one has come to the stage of Sankharupekkhanana. So one has got to make one's own decision. And if one has not experienced these things, one has not come to this insight stage known as Sankharupekkhanana. So if one has not reached this stage of Sankharupekkhanana, then one can be said to have not come to the stage of the Arya Megaphala, the path and fruition knowledge of the noble ones. It is for sure that if one has not come to this Sankharupekkhanana, one has not come to the path consciousness. When one comes to in the possession of these 6 qualities of Sankharupekkhanana, and as one builds up this momentum at this stage, or the momentum of this Sankharupekkhanana, then one will be able to be mindful and fully aware in a very fluid manner without any exertion or special attention. And as one, in the course of the practice, as one goes on, as one proceeds, then one will be noting very fast the there will be briskness or fastness or fleetingness of noting consciousness, and until one enters into the cessation, total cessation of both the object and noting mind, the noted object and the noting consciousness. As though it is like when one is jumping over a ditch or a small tiny canal. One just runs a few steps to build up momentum and then just jump across this ditch to get on the other side. And if you feel as though this object, both the object and the noting mind are cast away, thrown away, and reaching the ultimate cessation, in order to reach the ultimate cessation. As one builds up this knowledge, inside knowledge known as Sankharupekkhanana, and noting every arising in your body, the noting mind is proceeding, objects are proceeding like a current, and so is the noting mind which follows closely these objects to be noted. They also proceed continuously. And such is known as a bhavata, proceeding or process of mind-body formations. And from bhavata, one enters on or falls on or enters into abhavata, non-process or non-proceeding of the psychophysical formations, falling on to the ultimate cessation of nibbana. So as one, if we try to analyze these noting mind, noting the objects as they arise, you understand that it is comprised of the 3 paths, namely Sila Meganga, the morality path, Samadhi Meganga, the concentration path, and Panya Meganga, the wisdom path, such as Sumaga, the right path. So as much as you are able to cultivate your knowledge, your insight, you'll be free from these impurities, mental impurities, negative mental emotions, and you are extinguishing or overcoming these impurities on a part-time basis, such as reaching the Kemandam Bhumi, safe land of peace and security. And as for the practicing yogis, in the course of the practice of Vipassana, they are reaching, or they are practicing the noble path of 8 constituents. They are reaching this stage, they are walking this path. That is Mega Patipana, walking the path, or practicing the path. And as the saying goes, when one walks the path, one comes to the end, to destination at the end of the path. So too, as one builds up this Sankharupekkhanana, and the doubting mind proceeding in a fleeting manner, and with a flash of a moment, flash of insight, he reaches this Kemandam Bhumi, safe land of peace and security. Hence, so the Buddha is given the epithet as the good guide, Suddhiska, the good guide. And if we walk the path according to the guide given by the Buddha, reaching the extinction or coming of kilesas on a part-time basis, a momentary basis, Then as one builds up this Sankharupekkhanana, as Sankharupekkhanana is energized, and with the fleetingness of the noting mind, the flash of insight, you reaches this destination. Such is walking the path, leads to the right destination. When King Miranda asked Elder Nagasena about how one realizes Nibbana, this kind of question and answer is very interesting for us. And the answer by Elder Nagasena is that, great king, while one is noting these objects as they rise one after another, observing whatever rises, such as rising, falling, sitting, touching, or if there's no rising, falling, sitting, touching, it's just knowing mind, noting as knowing. As one is observing attentively these objects, as according to the mind-body process, one reaches the non-process or non-proceeding of this psychophysical process beyond the process of mind and body. In other words, from the mind-body process towards the non-process or ultimate cessation of this mind-body process. Such is realizing Nibbana. As a yogi is noting these objects as they arise, such as knowing or seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, which occur one after another continuously in a never-ending manner. And at times one is noting, observing these objects by way of the impermanent nature as a nature, or at times in terms of or in a form of unsatisfactoriness of the psychophysical phenomena, and at other times non-self nature. That means these objects are arising on their own, not at your will, but they are unmanageable, uncontrollable. They are just mere process rolling on, observing these things, being mindful and fully aware, and until one falls onto the cessation of both the object and the mind, noting mind, and the flash of the moment. And great king, the elder Nagasena said, such is realizing Nibbana. And in winding up his reply to the king, elder Nagasena said like this: great king, after one has practiced, walked the right path, namely the practice of Bhavabhagamega, the preliminary path, one comes to the total cessation, ultimate cessation of this psychophysical process with knowledge. Such is realizing, such a person is said to have realized Nibbana. In the sense, initially one is practicing mindfulness and fully awareness of these objects as they arise, such as seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, thinking, knowing, as they arise, and observing them in terms of one of these characteristics, such as anicca, dukkha, anatta. Such is the practice of Bhavabhagamega, the preliminary path, or forerunner path, which is insight path, Vipassana Mega, or Lokiya Mega, mundane or worldly path. And progressing from the beginning with the insight knowledge of Namarupa Prajnañana, discernment of mind and body, embarking upon the progressive stages of insight until one comes to the culmination of insight knowledge, known as Sankharupekkhanana, knowledge of equanimity about formations. Then coming to this insight knowledge known as Anuloma Jnana, conformity knowledge, which links up the mundane path and the supramundane path, Lokiya, Bhavabhagamega, and Lokuttara Ariya Mega, like soldering these two or welding these two. Until one comes to, after this Anuloma Jnana, one is able to attain this path consciousness and entering into Nibbana. In this way, when one walks the right path, one reaches the right destination, becoming at least the first path consciousness, Sotapanna, and thus be totally released from the states of loss of apaya. And at that, the late Venerable Mahasiddhara has given this maxim: seeing anatta, one realizes nibbana, and the benefit of which is the release from the states of loss. As we have just explained, that being grounded in the Mula Mega, the basic part as foundation, one establishes the Pobabhaga Mega, the preliminary part or inside part, Vipassana Mega. Establishing means developing it, enhancing it, letting it prosper, and multiplying it, and making it greater. And such is establishment of Pobabhaga Mega, the preliminary path. When one is fulfilled with this preliminary path, as the Sankharupekkhanana reaches maturity, or when one reaches the maturity of Sankharupekkhanana, and then coming to this conformity knowledge, which links the mundane and the super-mundane paths, one is said to have completed the establishment of Pobabhaga Mega, the preliminary path, in order to reach or realize the path consciousness. Thus, one is able to extinguish all kilesas and become the samana who possesses true knowledge. Such is how one realizes nibbana. During the practice of Pobabhaga Mega, the preliminary path, or Vipassana Mega, inside path, or Logiya Mega, the mundane path, the three trainings are involved, namely Sila Mega, Samadhi Mega, and Panya Mega, in their own rights. For instance, with the practice of Sila, one is able to overcome the coarse or gross forms of impurities, and with concentration one is able to overcome the obsessive defilements. And then this Vipassana Panya, wisdom, with the cultivation of wisdom, one is able to overcome or extinguish these latent tendencies of defilements on a part-time basis. This is not fake extinguishment, fake overcoming. It is a real overcoming, real extinguishing. Of course, on a part-time basis. And building up this part-time overcoming of defilements, one comes to the full-time overcoming of these defilements, coming to attainment, such as Ariya. And in this way, when one realizes the path consciousness, it is the first path, one is able to overcome these defilements, namely Sakaya deity, the view of individuality or personality view, Vicikricha, skeptical doubt, and Silabhara Paramasa, rights and ritual clinging. Then it becomes a full-time extinguishing the kilesas on a full-time basis. Such is becoming samana, the extinguisher of kilesas. Because one has come to this, one is able to overcome these undermining elements in the form of defilements or unwholesome deeds. One is said to have become samana, is a real Ariya samana. In this connection, the late Venerable Mahasiddhara has wound up his discourse by saying that there are three paths, namely Mula, Popa, and Ariya. And one has got to develop them in order to realize Nibbana. Once you are grounded in Mula and being able to develop and fulfill this Pobabhaga Mega, this Ariya Mega need not be practiced automatically. They will occur automatically. They will happen automatically. So in order to realize this become a real samana on a full-time basis, extinguishing kilesas, in the first stage, second stage, third stage, fourth stage, samana, one has got to accumulate this part-time cessation or overcoming of kilesas by being grounded in Mula Mega, the fundamental path. And based on the fundamental path, one has got to cultivate this preliminary path. One cannot jump like a frog, or like a jump promotion or something like that. Hence, these maxim given by the Mahāyasara, the three paths, such as Mula, Pubbā, Ariya, or Mula, Pubbā, Ariya are the three paths which one has got to go through. That's all for today.